Some of the most enjoyable parts of life are the relationships that we have with the people around us. There are many different types of relationships. We have the relationships with our immediate family, our parents, our siblings. We have relationships with people that we work with, our coworkers. We have relationships with friends, people that we associate with on a regular basis. And then there's what I consider the most special relationship, a romantic relationship with a very special person. And then obviously, as time goes on, if that relationship produces a family, then there's also that family relationship dynamic that happens further on. Because there are so many different types of relationships and manifesting an outcome within a relationship is going to be very different depending on which particular specific relationship you want to work with. I'm going to break this up into a series of different videos. This particular video, I'm going to focus on manifesting a brand new romantic relationship. And so other types of relationships we'll talk about in other videos. We'll talk about repairing a relationship in a different video, and we'll go on from there. So in this particular video, let's talk about manifesting a brand new romantic relationship. So I'm assuming that you've been on your own for at least a little while, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe even longer. And it is now time, you feel, that you want to share your life with a very special person. Maybe you have someone in mind. Maybe you don't. It's okay either way. What I will suggest for those who do have someone specific in mind that you would like to create a relationship with, I will suggest that on a human conscious level, we only know a certain number of people in the world around us. There are millions of people that we don't yet know. And so I will suggest that if you allow the universe to manifest the perfect relationship for you, that may or may not be that specific person that you have in mind. There may be someone even better available for you now. And I suggest you stay open to that possibility. So with that said, let's get started. So in the world of romantic relationships, we can just simply focus on manifesting the perfect relationship. And I've already talked about how I did this in an earlier video. In fact, I'll link to it in a card right above on this video. But what I will share in this video are some of the basics. Obviously, when we're manifesting anything, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's money, whether it's health, whether it's a new opportunity for adventure, the process is essentially the same. And here again, I've shared a couple different processes in earlier videos. There's the simplest process where you just simply decide what you want and trust that it's going to happen. And honestly, if you can do that, that really is the best way to go. However, that takes a strength of will and a level of faith that not everyone has. And so there is that simpler form of manifesting that I've also shared in a different video. In fact, I've shared it in a couple of videos, where you relax, you go within yourself, you indulge in a mental experience that opens you up to positive emotions. Then you imagine the outcome you'd like to manifest, anchor that in with trust and faith, with the concepts of absolute truth, absolute reality. Maybe you might remember that one from one of the earlier videos. If not, I'll link to one or two up here. And then after you have gone through that process, then simply follow your intuition, follow your gut instinct, follow your inclinations, especially if you feel like doing something you haven't done before, because those types of feelings are usually your deeper mind nudging you in the right direction so that you're at the right place at the right time, doing and saying the right things to make the best impression so that it all works out for you. Okay, so the basic process of manifesting is the same regardless of what you're manifesting. With relationships, though, and especially romantic relationship, there are other aspects to take into consideration and to work with. One quick example, okay, when I finally manifested the perfect relationship for me, I had to make a decision within myself, a belief about myself and a belief about what was possible for me. Before that experience, before I manifested the relationship I now have with my wife, Linda, I believed that I was so different from everybody else that there would only be a handful of women in the entire world who would be a good match for me. I had limited thinking. I had a lack consciousness in the area of relationships. I had to change my belief about myself that I wasn't that far different from everyone else. And I also had to change my belief about what was possible, what the opportunities were. I had to go from a lack consciousness to an abundance consciousness in the area of relationships. And in fact, the idea that I started playing with inside my mind was that there were millions of perfectly compatible women right in my own area. And I could run into any one of them on a daily basis. In fact, I would run into different ones on a daily basis. And that was the mindset that I had to adopt. I had to change something inside myself so that I could manifest that relationship. A belief about who I was and what was available to me. So that's one area that we want to pay attention to when manifesting a new relationship. We want to choose to believe that there are an abundant opportunities for new relationships. So that's the first level of belief in the inner psychology of relationships that I want to address here. The other aspect that I want to address here is going back to this idea that we don't necessarily manifest what we want. We manifest what we are. The world around us is a reflection of who we are inside. If we want to change the world outside of us, we need to start by changing what's inside of ourselves. That's the whole process of manifesting, is we are changing our beliefs within ourselves. We are changing the energies and the frequencies, if you would like to use those words. We're changing who we are inside so that we can project something new to the world outside of us, so the world outside of us can reflect that new projection back to us. So here again, in the area of relationships, it's important to project the right energies, project the right frequency, project the right attitude so that you get back what you want. And here again, it seems pretty obvious, but I want to state it anyways. In a romantic relationship, what we want to receive, what we want to be reflected back to us is love, is acceptance, is a positive focus. All of these things we would like to have reflected back to us in the form of a romantic relationship. And so if we want these things to be reflected to us, it's important that we project those same things, that we project love, that we project acceptance, that we project a positive focus. A relationship is a small example of that mirror that the world around us is in abundance, is in total, that mirror to ourselves so that we see who we are in the actions, in the eyes of this other person. And so to manifest the best relationships, you want to be the best person you can be in that relationship. You want to put your best foot forward. And then you always want to be keeping your best foot forward no matter how long that relationship lasts. 25 years later in the relationship that I'm in, I still want to make a conscious choice to put my best foot forward every time we are together. And so when manifesting a relationship, you want to really look at yourself. Who are you? What do you enjoy? And acknowledge your strengths and your weaknesses. Acknowledge both strengths and weaknesses because you are asking another person to accept both, to be able to accept your strengths, accept you as who you are, your authentic self, strengths and weaknesses. So, you want to consider all of this. If there are things about yourself that you don't like, maybe you could spend a little time working on those so that you truly like who you are. 100% from top of the head to the bottom of your feet and inside and out. You love yourself. Because when you love yourself, it's a whole lot easier for other people to love you as well. And I'm realizing that this whole topic of relationships, it goes all directions. There's so much information that we could be talking about in terms of relationships. In this video, I'm really just touching on the basics. So, to summarize, when manifesting a new romantic relationship, you want to go through the manifesting process like we do with everything else. Relax, go within, focus on positive feelings, positive emotions. Imagine that end result that you would like to manifest in as much detail as you possibly can. Make it feel so real that you lose track of the physical world around you. See what you would see in that relationship. Hear what you would hear in that relationship. Feel, touch, smell, taste, everything in that experience that would be there. When I manifested the relationship I have now, I imagined sitting down, having long conversations about interesting topics with someone, and I heard a voice. I saw a face. I saw animated gestures. I felt the environment around us that was different than the environment in which I was manifesting. I imagined that we were going to theater, and I imagined us walking up the steps to the theater, going in the door, sitting in the audience and watching the performance. I imagined us listening to music, and I heard the music that I enjoyed, and I saw in the face of the person I was imagining that they also enjoyed that music. I imagined holding this person and all of those things, kissing her, holding her, all of the different things that would be part of that relationship. I imagined it all. I felt it all. And so this is the level that you want to imagine that end result that you're manifesting in as much detail, as vividly, and as real as you can possibly make it. Because the more you get lost in that experience, the more it feels like a real experience, the easier it is to believe that you're going to have that experience. And again, our reality is a reflection of what we believe, which is one of the definitions of who we are. Our reality reflects who we are, what we believe on all levels, especially in relationships. So go through the manifesting process like normal, like we do with everything else. But in addition to that, also consider what do you believe about yourself and about your possibilities for relationships. Because if you believe that your choices are limited, that's lack thinking. That is not abundance thinking. And the more we can get into abundance thinking, the easier it is to manifest everything that we want. Don't just think and limit yourself to thinking that there's only one person for you, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, right in your area who would be a perfect partner for you. And again, I encourage you to be open to receiving that relationship manifestation wherever it happens, with whomever shows up into your life. Now, again, in my situation, I was doing this process for a period of weeks. And one particular day, I was sitting and meditating, and I got this idea, hey, it's been a long time since I've gone to a church with a meditation service. I think I'd like to do that again. That was inspiration. That was my deeper mind directing me to the outcome that I was manifesting. So I listened to that voice. I followed the guidance from within. I found a church that was doing meditation services. I went to that church. I started going to that church. Within just a couple of weeks, I met Linda. And it may just simply be because I had already been working on developing my psychic abilities, my intuition. But as soon as I saw her, I knew she was the one. Maybe you'll get that kind of recognition. Maybe you won't. Again, I'm realizing that maybe it was different for me because I'd already developed those sixth senses, that psychic ability that allowed me to see beyond the physical. So maybe it'll work for you that way. Maybe it won't. Trust whatever happens. And above all, as you go through your day, trust that it is going to happen. Sometime, somewhere, most likely, very quickly. I mean, it could happen in a day. It could happen in a week. Maybe it takes a month. Who knows? But it's going to happen, and it's going to happen relatively quickly. Be ready for it at any moment. There again, as part of my story, going back to that just as an example, as I went through my day, I was on the lookout. I was thinking, okay, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Maybe I might meet her around that corner. Maybe I might meet her inside that building that I'm already going to. I'm not necessarily looking for every specific person. I was waiting for it to happen. I was open to it happening in any way it was going to happen. I was ready for it. I was anticipating it, and I knew it was going to happen. That level of faith is what you want. You don't want to be looking and saying, well, why isn't it happening yet? Be open for it. Allow it to happen in its own time. That's the best I can say right now. So yes, this topic really could go on forever. There's so much more information we could cover, but I think that's the basics. I think that's really what you need to know at this point. And we'll cover more about relationships in other videos. So until then, be blessed, my friend.